Aloha and welcome to Olelo Community Media Series on the Hawaii State Department of Education's exciting strategic plan for public schools. I'm Christina Kishimoto, Superintendent of the Hawaii DOE. The 2030 Promise Plan centers on 5 promises to students to be delivered across all public schools during the next 10 years. This series features an episode on each of these promises. I'll be joined by educational leaders and students who are living out these promises in their communities, spotlighting some of the engaging and innovative learning underway today in our public schools. As the organization that graduates more than 10,000 students each year, the Hawaii DOE is the chief source of talent in the state. The aim of the 2030 Promise Plan is to harness the power and promise of public education to deliver on equity, excellence, and innovation in every school so that all students are ready for college, career, and community and can contribute to building a thriving, sustainable Hawaii. Mahalo for joining us. There are no small promises for our students.
Aloha, I'm Jill Kuramoto. I'm joined by Dr. Christina Kishimoto, Superintendent of the Hawaii State Department of Education. We're going to be talking about the School Design Promise, which states students will be immersed in excellent learning environments that are thoughtfully designed around a community's power to contribute to a thriving, sustainable Hawaii. So Dr. Kishimoto, tell us about how school design has been developed to really incorporate the community.
So Jill, I'm excited about this series topic because school design is one of my favorite education topics. School design is about the powerful practice of designing schools with community, for community, and having student voice as a key part of that process. And so it engages design thinking in thinking about how curriculum is delivered so that students have a voice in what ultimately they are taught, how they are taught, and having their voice as part of that process. So in Hawaii, we have adopted a diverse portfolio approach, and that essentially means that no two schools need to look the same in terms of how they're designed. They all have to meet high academic, rigorous standards of practice.
Okay, well, let's take a closer look at school design.
So there are 4 elements to thinking about and engaging with a review of your school design model. And they're interactive. And so you don't have to start in one place. You can start where you're most comfortable, where your community is most comfortable in having conversations about school design. But I'll start from the top kind of quadrants, as they're often called. So when we talk about core values, core beliefs, mindset in a school, we're talking about the history of that community, who's part of that school, who are the teachers who are teaching there, what are the core beliefs that the community holds collectively that really contributes to thinking about the delivery of a quality school model and instructional design. The second quadrant is about the instructional framework or curriculum framework for the school. And so the curriculum design for a school is about everything that happens around teaching and learning. It's what materials you're using, it's what standards you're teaching to, it's how you're engaging students in that learning. It's all of the pieces that have to do with teaching and learning and really thinking about your school relative to an instructional framework or a teaching framework. The third component is the infrastructure. And oftentimes when we talk about school models, we want to start with infrastructure because those are the more tangible pieces. So how are you using time? How are you organizing your teachers for collaboration? How are you using space in the school? What do you consider the learning space in a school? What kind of materials are you buying? Even how you're setting up a classroom in terms of desks or chairs or screens or technology. What are all of the infrastructure decisions you're making? And making sure you're making those decisions based on the instructional model that you've adopted for your school. And then the final quadrant, which as I said is all interchangeable, is really about student voice and student learning products. And the reason those two are important is because we want students to have a voice in what constitutes the curriculum, the learning environment, the learning materials, the learning focus of a school. And the way you know that that learning focus and that learning voice is showing up is in student work product. I always like to say that the school design conversation should begin wherever you're most comfortable. Because all of those areas work together, you have to eventually get through all four quadrants. So it's really important to start with where the community is most comfortable having those conversations. So one of the important things in the delivery of school design models or diverse portfolio approach to design models is that we shouldn't expect every school to look the same. And so there are some schools we already know are taking a STEAM or STEM approach. So that's the science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics approach. There are other schools that are delivering through an IB or International Baccalaureate curriculum. There are other schools that are doing agricultural sciences or teacher preparation academies. And so what you're using to engage students matters less than having a rigorous curriculum that's very exciting for students. And so that student feedback is important, and that locally designed school is what's most important.
Joining us is Principal Derek Minikami of Kaneohe Elementary, where staff have been working on an innovation academy for the sixth graders that uses innovative curriculum and non-traditional classroom settings to engage students who have been harder to reach. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell us about how the Innovation Academy got started and what are the outcomes that you're seeing?
It's too bad that Kumu Bella wasn't able to join us today, and hopefully we're able to capture her voice later, because a lot of the ideas for that Innovation Academy came and were generated from her and her previous partner. What she discovered, being a special education teacher and teaching a very traditional classroom, where that kids weren't connecting with the learning. And while many of our kids, they thrive in the traditional setting, we had a segment that just struggled. Looking at that, and then also going through a more innovative program at the University of Hawaii, the STEMS 2 program, where they integrate science, technology, math, science, and social studies in a culture-based format. She was very hungry to implement that at our school. And so she and her former partner approached me and they said, we really want to do this academy. We really want to reach these students. And then coming up into sixth grade, we had a cohort of kids who, from kindergarten, the teachers feared having them every year because just their behavior is just so extreme, I think, for many of the teachers. And a lot of it is because they didn't fit in. The deal was, when we decided that we're going to do this, was one, it has to be a heterogeneous setting. We can't just have these kids alone. It can't be like a pull-out resource class. I taught at Kailua High School, and I had a similar type of class, and it was pretty much a race to the bottom for many of these kids. When you have them mixed in, they need good role models. The second thing that I asked them was, we're going to have a lot of eyes on us, because we're going to need some grant funding to make this happen. While our budget is sufficient to do what we normally do, to do something on top of this, to have two teachers in one room, it's going to be a little bit more costly, and to integrate the high tech.
You described moving away from the traditional classroom, but I think we're redesigning our schools so that we're engaging students, all students, in a way that really empowers them.
We really look at this Innovation Academy as a learning lab, where we can try more disruptive, more innovative lessons out. And the things that really work for kids, we're seeing how can we put this in the traditional classroom and define a new tradition.
Can you describe some of the elements of how you're engaging students that you have found to be powerful practices?
Definitely. So one, we're using restorative practices, and that's helping to build greater and stronger relationships for kids between peers, between the adults in the classroom, with their parents, their families, as well as our community partners. We are expanding the walls of the classroom to include areas in the community where kids will go out and do authentic projects where they can learn about their kuleana, their responsibility to make our community stronger. So for example, we had a student who just hated writing, and all the way through his schooling career, when asked to write, he refused, or he would throw tantrums, and you could barely get a sentence out of him. But in this classroom, because his voice was honored, because he was given choices, by the end of the year, he was writing volumes.
Well, going through the school design process, can you share some of the benefits that you've seen for educators and students and families?
We had a student who throughout his elementary career, he never really made trouble, never had an outburst, never seen or showed us that he had frustrations. But those things would come out at home, and he would hear about it from his parents, in terms of not being able to do his homework or being frustrated as to like what difficulties he was encountering in the classroom. For many students that are like that, where they're not outwardly behaving, they fly under the radar. And what the school design process does is it encourages us to listen to students more deeply. It encourages us to listen to families and find out what's going on, and to redesign the things that we're doing so that we can reach students like that. And by the first quarter already, the parent was thanking me. She said, before when I asked him, oh, how was your day? What did you like? It was always lunch and recess. And now he's talking about the lessons that he's learning, about the engineering design that he's implementing. And by the end of the year, she's pleading with me to have something like that at the intermediate school. And so I'm glad, because we can finally say that now King Intermediate, our feeder school, or the school that we feed into, is doing this in the 7th and 8th grade as well.
Exciting things happening
Yes,
at Kaneohe'o.
absolutely.
All right, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a look at the Innovation Academy in action.
Becoming an educator kind of opened my eyes to our public education system. And so when I started, I was actually very disheartened. I saw my students with special needs that are brilliant and bright and not able to participate because of the way in which I think curriculum and instruction was delivered. I'm so thankful that our principal, Mr. Minikami, gave us the freedom and the trust to create a new kind of classroom. It's called Innovation Academy because we try all kinds of things. Our circle is something that we try to do at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. It's our pico. It's our gathering space. Generally, the students choose a question, and it could be anything from what is your favorite food to when was the last time you were sad and what happened.
It creates a safe place where everybody can feel like at home, and like you can like tell anybody how you're feeling.
Once they get that out of the way and that we have that chance to like take care of malama each other, then it just starts the day off perfectly. Uncle Mark is a farmer right up the street, and the last 2 years we've been kind of in his family space, and he's trying to separate that family space from our school space. There are no bathrooms in that space that we're at, so we used to use his bathroom in his house.
We're supposed to design a bathroom meant for a lot of 40 people with changing rooms and just a regular bathroom.
They're learning how to really learn empathy, like what is important to Uncle Mark, and putting his needs and what he thinks is important at the very top of their list as they design. At the end, it's really a competition. Whomever design that he chooses, and it may end up being a myriad of pulling different ones together, so that the kids are learning like collaboration, creativity, they're learning empathy, and all those wonderful 21st century skills embedded in this one project.
It gets me more connected with the Aina and makes me want to learn more and explore more about Hawaiian culture and other cultures.
The Innovation Academy is interesting. A lot of our curriculum is based on Ike Hawaii, which is Hawaiian knowledge. So we use a lot of Hawaiian language. We use place-based learning, like Uncle Mark's farm, like wayfinding. So the content is relevant. It comes from here, it comes from the students, and we as teachers navigate them through that process. And so that's really what the Innovation Academy is. It's space-based education, it's STEMs, science, technology, engineering, math, social sciences, and sense of place. And we use community to help make that happen.
Principal Albert Hetrick and staff at Aliamano Middle have been engaging their families and community to help design their school. Here's a look at their process.
One of the first things listening to Superintendent Kishimoto, she talked about that elevator speech you would give a parent coming into your school. What would a parent want to hear? Like what is special about schools that want to make them go there? And first was like, oh, is it a tech school? Is it a STEM school? We taught. But when we went to the parents, it was deeper than that. Like they didn't really, that was not what they were looking for. So we looked at our school once again, and through our faculty and through conversations, and what I ended up doing is going to personal room by room and doing their prep periods and having smaller conversation of where do you see our school in the future? What is important that parents should know about our school? And from there, we came up with these things collaboratively of who are we as a school and what can we sell our school if a parent was to ask. And we had to do that. On many occasions, parents would come and basically say, what does your school got to offer me? And so it's kind of neat that we went through that process and we could talk about that. I mean, that's the best case scenario, the whole school for 2 days. So we are always trying to improve. We're trying to be innovative. We want to be risk takers. We talk about that all the time because to me, there's nothing stopping us from being great than the adults on this campus. We want to make sure that our parents know and our kids know that we're going to prepare you with the skills necessary academically to make sure that you're ready for high school. But we also socially want our students to understand that we're going to take care of you in that way, that you are going to be safe on our campus. And to me, that's something that is key to learning. I think everybody will agree that until a kid feels safe, and sometimes I use the word happy, how can we make sure kids on our campus are happy so that when they go into a classroom that they can learn? If they are not happy or they're angry or they're sad, we could have the greatest lessons happening in our classroom and the learning will not take place at its highest levels. For the emotional part, we want parents to know or kids to know that you're gonna get 90 adults on this campus that cares about the success of every single student and that you can bank that we care and that we're gonna do everything in our power to help that child succeed. So I believe when it came to that vision or elevator speech, that was that belief mindset system and we made sure that our faculty understood that. So that's the area we started with. Like we need to make sure that our belief system at our school is the same, is accurate, and that we all can back it up. From that belief system, we can create something that we believe is beneficial for the community that we serve. And part of that is also, you know, we do a lot with the faculty, but we also do a lot with the students. What do you guys want to see? What is you envision as an education in a middle school setting? What do you guys want your education to look like? Our kids' needs is something we never go away from. Sometimes we understand that kids might not know what's best for them, but we also want to hear from them because they have really good ideas. And so we take everything into account, and as well as our community, because our community especially has come from everywhere. They come from all over the globe and they got really good ideas of what schools could be, of what they were. And so we take that all into account to figure out what is the best thing for our kids, but also make sure that we're aiming for the stars because our kids deserve it. But then we also got to make sure that it's palatable and reachable. Our kids' voice is something that we've been working on really hard in the last 2 years of making sure that we hear from them and make sure we take into account the things that they would like to see and they would want to be a part of. I truly appreciate the school design process because it really is asking schools to focus and get really good at something. And so now the next part of our school design is really looking at, okay, how can we get better? How can we improve? Is it systems, academics, socially, emotionally? What areas do we need to now focus on? So we're currently wanting to look at that. And we understand that once we can find out what that is, then we can start looking at infrastructure. How do we know that students are actually benefiting from it? Is the curriculum aligned with what our school design is? So that's our current task, is really looking at, we have our kind of our belief system and a speech, but now is there a system or a certain way that we want to run our school and focus? Because when we do our school design, we want to make sure that it's done the right way and it is carried out to its fullest potential. Because if not, it won't work. And then therefore our kids won't have the success that they need. And that's not acceptable.
We're now joined by Dr. Aaron Sickel, the Hawaii DOE State Educational Specialist for Instructional Practices, who's here to talk about a new learning design tool that the state has made available to educators to create curriculum aligned to college, career, and community readiness. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, tell us about the purpose of this tool.
And there are really two major purposes. One is that it's going to provide up-to-date information on curriculum, instruction, and assessment-related resources. It's going to provide specific links to resources and tools for educators to use for a variety of purposes. It really honors the central role of complex areas in schools in making decisions around teaching and learning, but this will be a guiding resource for them. And secondly, it's going to help them with constructing their own unique school design as we have resources aligned to school design issues and resources that might be helpful.
Aaron, can you share what's different than what we've done in the past?
Yeah, so this has been very exciting because in the past we've had curriculum frameworks from at the state level, and they've been very large paper documents. So we actually went to a warehouse and found them, and there are these large binders of paper, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we realized that that wasn't going to be very responsive to the field. So what really made this different was that we developed a website that's really accessible to everyone. Everything is in one place. It's very easy to click around and get the resources you need, and it's going to invite contributions from the field. We look forward to iterating it in the future so that schools and complex areas make their own contributions to the site.
Sounds very exciting.
Yeah, we're very excited about it.
So I love the e-learning environment. How do teachers and community get to it?
On the site at the very bottom of every page we have an email address. It's ldr@hawaiidoe.k12.hi.us, and anyone can email us, and then we will make sure we get the question or the contribution to the appropriate specialist in our office and make sure we get the updates made as quickly as possible.
Okay, thanks so much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now joined by Dr. Mark Silliman, the director of the Early College Program at Waipahu High, along with Leanne Villanueva, Waipahu class of 2018 and a student at UH West Oahu, Ashlee Balignasay, a graduate of the class of 2019 attending University of Portland, and current Waipahu student Skye Yasuda, who, in addition to pursuing her Hawaii DOE diploma by 2021, is also aiming to obtain her associate's degree in science and teaching. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure.
Well, Dr. Silliman, Waipahu High has led Hawaii in bringing the early college program, or college level learning, to high school. Tell us about this journey and how the program has evolved.
In 2002, it started on the mainland under the umbrella organization called Jobs for the Future, with the intention of trying to reach into that segment of our population that is not well represented in the workforce because they haven't really had opportunity in higher education. So in 2002 it began and now is spread throughout our nation in over 30 states, and clearly hundreds of redesigned schools who are designing their schools around this extraordinary opportunity and challenge.
Well, Waipahu has been a proof point for how we can blend high school and college courses into an integrated opportunity for our students. And so can you share some of your experiences and what the value add is of providing early college courses in high school?
So my career interest is to be an electrical engineer, and we know that engineers design and build. But for me, it's important to know how it will affect the environment and how other people would feel about me creating a product that would be on the land. And with the early college program, I took courses that were related to Hawaii. I took Hawaiian studies, I took Pacific Island studies, and I took botany, which is about native Hawaiian plants and how they're important to be here in Hawaii. So with those type of courses, I was able to have a wide view of the world, which is important because we need to learn more about and listen to other people's opinions and also create a safe and clean environment. I had to balance my extracurriculars with my high school courses and the college courses. So in my senior year, I had to take 3 different types of courses. I took online class, I took Running Start, and I took the regular early college classes. So for Running Start, I had to go up to Leeward Community College and take a course filled with college students from Leeward Community College. And in the early college course, that's courses that are already in Waipahu High School, but there were people that I'm already familiar with because they're from the high school.
Powerful.
So I learned a lot.
Powerful learning opportunities. You want to share your experience?
As an immigrant and a middle income part of the family, early college program has definitely helped me financially because I was able to take college courses and earn college credits all for free. And with the opportunity for us to earn our associate degree even before we graduate from high school, that put us way ahead than other students and ahead in our college journey in terms of achieving our bachelor's degree. So despite the fact that I just graduated back in 2018, I'm already projected to graduate in fall 2020, which is already next year.
Wow,
yes.
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Being in the early college program for 4 years, I was able to see that I have an interest in working with different people. You know, if it weren't for great organizations like the Mac and Ernie Foundation and individuals who are involved in the business world that continue to support and fund the early college program, it wouldn't be as successful as it is as of now. I feel as if my way of giving back to them is to follow their step and also contribute back to the community if I were to become a successful business entrepreneur someday.
You will.
No doubt.
Skye is paving the way for what I hope will just take off across the state. Do you want to talk about what's happening at Waipahu now in terms of your experience?
Okay, so I'm a part of early college, what we call is now 2.0. Of course, we had the Associates in Arts degree, which is more for liberal arts, and then the Associates in STEM degree. But for me, because I'm super duper sure that I want to go into teaching, I'm going to be the first student to get my Associates in Sciences and Teaching degree. Our school already offers like an internship, I guess is what you could call it, where we go out to one of the feeder schools, whether it's the intermediate school or any of the Waipahu elementary schools. And we go over there and we teach or we're observing. And then as you continue on with the program, you can actually stay out there for a longer period of time. So it becomes eventually a whole day where you're at the school and you're with your students as well as the teacher. And with that experience and now the knowledge that I can gain from getting my degree, putting that together, it'll make me a much better future elementary school teacher.
And you have a guaranteed position.
So Dr. Silliman, tell me about how academics and industry partners have helped support the program.
Ashlee and I and one of my mentors went to Cambodia several weeks ago as a result of, she did very, very well at a Punahou science fair and rose to the top, and they paid her way out to Cambodia to participate in an international forum in science on her invention for smart wave generator. But when we went off to Cambodia, the competition got even keener, with 10 different countries being represented, over 200 competitors, and she rose up to be the top in the senior division. But afterwards, she trained the water authority, the second largest water authority in the nation of Cambodia, on how to use this very sensitive equipment. And what I find really innovative about this is when I attended the Educational Leadership Institute this summer, I heard you speak about the importance of designing schools where students have these opportunities to not just do homework assignments that are par excellence, but they actually, when they create new knowledge or they make these discoveries, they take that and lend it to solving real problems in our community. And I was very proud of the achievements of our students.
Absolutely exciting.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you so much for being here.
That's our pleasure. Thank you for
so
inviting
proud
us.
of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Superintendent Kishimoto, I can see why you're so passionate about the school design promise.
Absolutely, and you can see it's because it's about designing school around kids. It's about empowering students to go out into community and solve problems. It's bringing meaning to curricula, and it's empowering our schools to design and engage in design thinking. You can see the work that our school principals and students shared today, and you can see the impact they're having already.
Right, and it's very, very exciting.
It is.
Well, thank you for joining us for this detailed look at the school design promise in the Hawaii DOE's 2030 Promise Plan. Our next episode will look at the empowerment promise with a focus on engagement, civic and policy voice, educational leadership, discovery, and choice. Aloha.
Aloha.